What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today we have an episode of r/ChoosingBeggars meets a little r/Entitled Parents. I hope you enjoy. My girlfriend's choosing beggar cousin loses it when we don't pay for her vacation. Backstory. I have a good paying job and I'm able to go on vacations with my girlfriend twice a year if time allows us to. My girlfriend's cousin, CB, is the definition of a bum and has never worked a day in her life. Not very long ago, my girlfriend and I were making plans to visit Asia for our anniversary. We're adventurous people and we enjoy going to new places. Dates were set, tickets were paid for, we both were able to get our vacation days from our workplaces to allow us to go on our trip. I had everything planned and ready for us and we were both excited. A few days ago, Choosing Beggar came over to our house. She doesn't come over very often, so I figured that she was coming over to eventually ask for some cash or something like that, which she did. I gave her $100 because I know she's in a pretty bad financial state and figured she could use it to pay for some food and whatever other necessities she may need. While having a conversation with her, our anniversary plans came up and CB seemed very interested in all the little details and everything we had set up for ourselves. My girlfriend, in the midst of her excitement, didn't realize where this conversation was heading, but I could see it from a mile away, so I went to the kitchen and listened in on what the ladies had to say. My girlfriend mentions to her how we'll be traveling through Asia and hopefully visiting various countries and blah blah blah. Choosing Beggar responds to all that with, "Wow, you guys must be spending a lot of money on all this." We were, but it wasn't breaking the bank or anything, which is what my girlfriend explained to her. Everything's all fine and dandy until CB asks if we wouldn't mind her tagging along. I explained to her that this is for our anniversary, but if she really wanted to come, we wouldn't stop her, but she would have to book her flight and accommodations very quickly. CB then asks, "Can't you just book the flight for me?" Which I tell her I can, providing that she's able to pay for her ticket and stuff. CB's face changes. "I thought you guys would be paying for me though." I tell her that if we invited her with us, then I would have been more than happy to pay for her, but 1, I wouldn't be inviting anyone else on our anniversary trip, and 2, she asked to tag along, therefore she should pay for herself. This did not sit well with her at all, and Choosing Beggar starts saying she's never been to Asia, and turns to my girlfriend saying, "We're family, why won't you help family?" No one says anything. I'm rather confused at the whole situation, and my girlfriend's face is getting red with embarrassment. CB takes this silence and says, "If we're going to do this, make sure we're staying in nice hotels and I want at least $700 to spend," as if her asking us to pay for her trip wasn't enough. I look at her with the most perplexed face and tell her that no one's going to be paying for her trip, especially when she's demanding so much spending money, on top of the fact that we don't want her to come. I tell her that this trip would already cost us thousands of dollars for me and my girlfriend alone, so there was no way in hell I'd be willing to pay for everything for her and fork over $700 for her to spend at her will. She loses it. "We just agreed that you'd pay for me." We didn't. "You guys are so selfish." I politely and quietly asked her to leave and that this discussion was over, and reminded her that the only money she was getting from me was the $100 I gave her earlier. So much for being selfish. "You're kicking me out now? You're an asshole. And cousin, I can't believe you got with this self-centered prick." My girlfriend finally breaks her silence and demands that she leave at that very moment and curses her for speaking about me that way. After a bit more fuss, Choosing Beggar leaves and me and my girlfriend have a bit of a laugh about it. We haven't heard a word from her since. I know it's not the most exciting post, but it was my first real encounter with a Choosing Beggar, and I decided to share it. Oh man, the Choosing Beggars truly have gone international. I know that we've covered a whole host of Choosing Beggars on this channel, begging for a whole host of different Choosing Beggar type products, but I don't think I've ever seen any quite as extravagant as inviting themselves along on an anniversary trip and then asking for spending money, as well as, of course, the anniversary couple buying her flights. I mean, how tone deaf do you have to be, or how shameless do you have to be, I guess, to actually ask such a thing? I have absolutely no idea. You guys are rich. You should feed us for the whole semester. I'm a Kuwaiti international student studying in one of the US universities. Last year, I was enrolled in one of the liberal elective classes, and the class was really fun and interesting. So our female professor told us that she will hold an event in the class where everyone can cook a dish from their culture. I decide, along with the other Kuwaitis in the class, to cook a feast for the 100 students there. So we go around and buy the stuff we need, spending around $300 to $400 and cook for the feast. Everyone was impressed with the feast that we cooked, and we got decent compliments. In the next week, the professor started her lecture by complimenting our food and then told us to talk to her after class. She told us that we should cook for the class once a week. We thought it was a joke at first, but then she was serious about it. We respectfully declined and told her that we cannot, as we're all engineering senior students, and we cannot cook like this every week, and we simply can't afford it. How can't you afford it? You guys are filthy rich. I started to explain to her that the stereotype isn't real, and we have bills and rent to pay every month. Long story short, she was angry and her attitude changed from a loving professor to an asshole. She started to tell other professors on how cheap we are and how the quote-unquote Arabian generosity is just fake and doesn't exist. Apparently, everyone knew what we did and what was said to her. The dean talked to her about her attitude and how she's wrong and how she's affecting her reputation by doing this. At the end, the dean told us to come by his office, and guess who's there? The entitled professor. She apologized in front of the dean and told us that this will never happen again. Well, it happened again this semester with a bunch of Chinese students who decided to cook a lot of food for the class. I'll admit I was rather surprised by this story. I thought the choosing beggar would be a student or a group of students who thought, we're broke, maybe they're not, we'll get them to pay for our food. But the fact that it was the professor, who obviously has a job since she's the professor, is asking college students to cook large amounts of food on their own time and on their own money for a class of 100 people once a week? I can't even begin to comprehend this one either. I'm at a loss for words. Huge airline company asks for freebies from small business, blasts us on social media when I decline. I run a small food service business. We've been in business for 3 years, and while it pays the bills, we ain't millionaires. Yeah. We get calls from people all the time asking for free this and free that, but I've learned to politely decline. Yesterday, I received a phone call from one of the largest airlines in the country. Hi, we're doing an end-of-the-year ceremony for our employees, and I was wondering if you guys wouldn't mind offering some gift cards for the event. We want to help promote your business. I'm happy to offer you a discount coupon, or you're welcome to purchase gift cards from our website. I don't think we're able to make a purchase, but it's a great opportunity to promote your business. I'm afraid I can't help you, and I find it a bit disrespectful for a multi-billion-dollar corporation to call a small local business asking for freebies. Thank you for your time. Later in the day, I received a message via our Facebook page from another employee saying that I blew off the airline's company to promote us and that they'd never be ordering from my company due to my lack of manners and rudeness. When I asked where she'd read it, she said that the woman had made a post from her personal Facebook account accusing us of lack of manners and rudeness. Really? This company just changed their policy so that any checked bags will now cost $30 extra, and I'm the bad guy for asking they promote my business by paying for my services? If you really want to promote a local business, hire them. Don't come to them with your handout, especially when your company has revenue in the double-digit billions. Well, from what I've seen and what I've heard, there are generally two types of people or groups that tend to ask for free things. The first is people who have failed on their own to monetize whatever their business is. The second is people who think they're big enough that they can abuse you or take advantage of the leverage that they have as the larger player in this situation. In both of those, it's pretty crappy, all in. If you have failed to monetize your own business idea and instead are insisting that someone else help out because you can offer them something, well, you're clearly not offering them any money-making opportunities if you can't find any for yourself. And if you're a big company trying to leverage a small guy into giving you free stuff, stop it. You can afford a couple $1,000s for catering or a couple $100s for gift certificates. The fact that this employee of a major airline chose to disparage this company on her private Facebook literally for the sole reason that the company wanted to charge for their services is insane. Asinine, even. Seriously, giant airline? My son will not be moving anywhere. My sister was working a flight from a London airport to Geneva or Benidorm. Can't remember and honestly isn't important. It was a midday flight and would get to his destination before nightfall, so it was a simple, routine flight to a typical British holiday location. Everyone had sat down, and my sister was stood in the middle of the plane, being one of 2 or 3 of the flight attendants doing the safety features. Whilst they'd all turn their backs to grab the yellow life vests from the overhead bins to demonstrate, a sneaky kid must have left his seat at the back of the plane to sit in the flight attendant seats that are kinda like the seats in a Cineworld, folds up when no one has sat in them. At this moment in time, the plane is not moving because there's a slight delay to the order of the runway and the plane had to wait. She finished the safety features and is checking that everyone has their seatbelts on when her colleague calls her to the back of the plane. It's a plane with 2 seats on either side of the plane, so it's fairly small. A woman is laying on her chair in one of the back rows, her seat reclining and the chair next to her empty. My sister's colleague, OFA for other flight attendant, is gently tapping the woman to get her to put her seat in the upright position for takeoff, and my sister is confused about the empty seat, considering she was also at the boarding desk and boarded a full flight. EM jolts up, obviously fake, and pulls off her eye mask, doing one of those overdramatic yawns which my sister acts perfectly. OFA: sorry miss, but in order for the plane to take off, your seat needs to be upright. The woman looks annoyed and nods and sorts out her seat. That's it, right? Nope. Other flight attendant goes first to the back of the plane and jumps back in fright. My sister, S, goes after her, wondering what the issue is. Lying across 2 of those flight attendant seats right at the back of the plane is entitled kid, looking up, playing on his tablet. OFA tries to get her breath back. Sorry little dude, but you can't sit there. You need to go back to your seat so we can get going. Mummy said I could lie down here. Sorry little man, but no can do. Can you go to your mum? Mum! Entitled mother: what seems to be the issue? These seats are for flight attendants only, and your son is taking them up. Take him back to his seat. At this rate, other flight attendant is reaching for wrist ties because flight attendants have training in tying up passengers in them, not entitled kid, the mom. There is no problem with my child wanting to sleep. It is an inconvenience for me when my child leans on me to sleep, so I told him he could sleep back there. He can't sleep back here. Get back to your seats or you will be escorted off the plane. No, you should go out of your way to make the passenger comfortable so my son will not be moving anywhere. She's swaying side to side even though the plane is not moving. Miss, are you drunk? How dare you accuse me of such a thing? This is outrageous and I will be complaining to your boss. She's slurring and my sister can barely understand. She takes a few steps toward my sister, glaring, and raises her hand. Other flight attendant steps in, grabs both of entitled mom's hands and locks them into zip ties, whilst S calls the captain at the front to tell them what happened and that they're going to need to offload 2 passengers. Thankfully, they only had hand luggage and cabin luggage, and they didn't need to dig through luggage in the aircraft hold. Whilst waiting for police to arrive, entitled mom screams bloody murder whilst little smug entitled kid refuses to get off the seats. Eventually, a police officer bribes him with a Snickers bar and he walks off the plane behind his mum. At this point, the flight has been delayed for a little less than an hour. The pilots are pissed and most of the passengers are loud and angry. My sister said it was her favorite flight to work. This is what happens when man does things that are unnatural. Man was not meant to fly. Were man meant to fly, God would have bestowed upon us such a power. Commercial flight is comically implausible. Sitting side by side 100 other passengers in a multi-ton steel tube somehow hurling itself through the air at hundreds of miles per hour. That's hundreds of kilometers per hour for all of my non-American viewers. It just wasn't meant to be. If I was that kid, why wouldn't I want to play on my tablet in the flight attendant's quarters? The simple distraction from our inevitable fall into uncertainty, that unnatural, unexplainable realm. But hey, I mean, a Snickers is a Snickers after all. I moved out for a reason, Mom. I can't escape her. I'm so tired. I've lived alone with my mother in Ohio since my dad left when I was in middle school, save for 2013 to 2015. I'm now 24, and recently I admitted to myself that she's been getting worse and worse, and I have to leave. This past January, I packed my bags and bought a one-way plane ticket to Florida where my boyfriend is. Guess who followed? By pure coincidence, her boyfriend lived less than 2 hours' drive from mine. Unsurprisingly, however, he bailed soon after meeting her, so now she's homeless and an easy drive away, living out of her car, working a dead-end retail job she's had since 2011. She was going to keep our cat because her boyfriend wasn't going to house them both, so of course I ended up with it while I was staying with my boyfriend's parents. Miracle they allowed it. The following is what she's told me, but I can't assume is true. After boyfriend one bailed, she's been using Tinder and found a guy she instantly clicked with. He's a journalist/political cartoonist from Egypt, a political refugee in the process of naturalization, with almost all his money inaccessible back home with his brother. He shares an apartment with a roommate who's moved elsewhere, but his son is staying there, and due to their Arabic culture, he's basically forbidden from letting a woman stay in the house, lest he face blackmail from the roommate. She needs a Florida ID to apply for some new jobs. Also, I got a job here with my old ID, and needs a mailing address to get one. Her boyfriend insists that her family, me, provides an address, another cultural thing, even though apparently the man is also expected to provide for the woman, but my place is not just mine, and I can't risk her moving in or being convicted of postal fraud. Yet, she will still not stop badgering me for my address no matter how many times I say no. Now she's saying even her boyfriend doesn't have an address because he canceled his lease without having another place lined up. Today's my boyfriend's birthday, and now all I'm worried about is how to deal with my mom. She's the reason I nearly couldn't get a lease. I had co-signed our last place, and apparently my rent history says it was left torn apart and 3 months behind rent. Rent wasn't behind by the time I left, and she was only there another month, so I have no idea how she did that. She also never canceled the utilities. She had also completely drained any savings I had by forcing me to pay the whole rent every month while she ate McDonald's 3 to 4 times a day. I wish I were exaggerating. No one in her family will take her either because she completely alienated them. I'm not asking for advice. I'm just so tired and figured you would be sympathetic here. Thanks for reading. I don't think I'll ever be able to understand how a parent could choose to put their child in such a horrible and uncomfortable position. Basically, using them for money for so long, and then insisting on an address to commit postal fraud to get a job that she didn't need to commit postal fraud for, but at the same time likely just wanted her daughter's address so she could show up out of the blue and basically insist or invite herself in to stay at her daughter's boyfriend's parents' house. I'm not sure how much advice I can give OP other than to respect yourself, honestly. Throughout this, please respect yourself. Your mother seems to be being incredibly manipulative in some really messed up ways that are definitely damaging your relationship, but there's only so much that you can control in this situation. Minimizing the impact of that manipulation is about the best that you can do, and hope that your mother moves on to greener pastures, I guess, in a literal sense, not in like a she's gonna die sense. I certainly don't wish that on anyone. I just hope that both for your sake and definitely for hers as well, that she's able to sort her life out in whatever way she sees fit, and maybe stops eating McDonald's 3 to 4 times a day. Or at the very least, stops eating McDonald's 3 to 4 times a day on your dime. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.